Hello and welcome to Q&A number 6. We are turning a corner here, moving on from the first 5 Q&As, which if you haven't seen, you can go and check them out or go to my most recent Q&A video, which is a compilation of all Q&As 1 through 5 to get yourself caught up. If you have a question and you're worried it might be in another Q&A, it's okay. You can still ask that question and I will still answer it in a future Q&A. I think that repetition is the father of learning. So, if another question that's already been answered gets asked, I can answer it again, and maybe I can answer it in a different and more complete way as I continue to educate myself on the condition and everything involved. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chase Teagarden. I am a doctor of physical therapy who not only specializes in complex pain and has treated CRPS for my entire career at some of the top hospitals in the country, but I am also someone who was diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome 10 years ago. And after 4 years of pain, I was able to find my way out, eventually going on to become a pain specialist myself. If you are looking for more help in relationship to CRPS as you go through this video, if you think that the information is helpful and I may have more to offer you, then please do visit my website, thewindowpain.com. And on that website, you can find many more free resources. You can also find my 8-week self-guided online program that is completely self-paced, and you can go through and learn everything that I've learned about overcoming CRPS over the last 10 years of my own journey. Additionally, I offer one-on-one pain coaching, which you can find videos of on my YouTube channel. And that is a completely customized program where I meet with you once per week, one-on-one, and give you physical and mental and emotional assignments to help you move towards remission/recovery from CRPS. Many people have already found this helpful. So if you feel like you want to benefit in the way that these people have, people from all over the world, as shown by this map here, are loving my online course and pain coaching as a whole. So anyways, I've got my coffee as usual, and it is almost 6 p.m., so you know it's real. I am about to jump into some questions, so let's just dive into it. All right. So, first question, we have Holly, and she says, how many people document their progress and are liking the results they see and use that as continuing motivation? I personally regret not documenting better, and I feel if I had, I would have created a habit that works better for me, like I see happening with my Weight Watchers program. We all learn differently, but this one makes the most sense. Okay. So Holly, yeah, I love that question. My only problem is what are you documenting? So if you're documenting your progress from like a physical standpoint, if you're documenting like how far you might be walking each week collectively, or how long you might be standing, or how well you're able to move your hand, or something like that, then that's fantastic. But if you are documenting symptoms, if you are documenting, level of swelling or redness or level of pain, and you're documenting that rigorously, I don't think that is helpful. And the reason for that is because our body is going to do a lot of weird things as we overcome CRPS. The more we fixate on those weird things, believe it or not, the worse it's going to feel. Okay, so the more we anticipate or worry about our symptoms, the worse off we become. And so tracking is fine, documenting is fine, as long as you're documenting something that is, related to function or functional improvement. If you are documenting something that is related to something you can't control, like your symptoms, I don't think that would be helpful. In fact, there's even a lot of research coming out that things like sleep trackers are actually bad for sleep. And the reason for that is the exact same reason that we shouldn't track symptoms is because when we are focused on trying to improve our sleep or in trying to track something, sometimes that makes us anxious about doing the activity and then makes sleep harder. And this is something coming from someone who has a sleep tracker. It's charging on my shelf over there. But I just want you to know that tracking can have pros and cons, and it's going to depend on what you are tracking. So please be careful with that. Fixating on the physical aspect of CRPS is going to take away from the journey on the emotional aspect of things when it comes to CRPS, which I believe is the most important part. Holly also said, do you notice sugar affecting pain changes as in causing inflammation? I don't get too specific when it comes to dietary things. Sugar is sometimes not the greatest if you eat a whole bunch of it. But obviously, if you're eating in moderation, then I don't think it's such a big deal. Some people, such as Renee, who commented below, don't have any effect when it comes to eating sugar, and some people do. It's going to depend on, your dietary habits just as a whole. Fruit has sugar. Meat has probably a little bit of sugar. Pretty much everything you eat, vegetables, etc., is going to have some sugar. So attempting to cut out sugar is not going to really be possible. And I feel like just focusing on eating a relatively healthy and well-balanced diet that makes you feel good is going to be better than focusing on or villainizing a certain ingredient. We need sugars. We need glycogen to fuel our body. And so trying to cut out or eliminate all sugar is not only probably impossible, but I think it would be uh, very much poor mood inducing because sugar can make you happy in certain ways. And if you want to have a sweet treat from time to time, I don't think you should villainize an ingredient. So yeah, I would say it depends on the person, and I wouldn't villainize sugar because it's a staple part of our diet and our life in certain ways. Okay, Jennifer, is it normal to have zero feeling slash sensation in the affected CRPS limb? My son had a right knee injury, but it developed CRPS in the right foot. He can move his foot but cannot feel anything. Everything I read says numbness, but this is way beyond numbness. So numbness can mean no feeling or sensation. It would be like if your foot felt like it was asleep, and when you touch it, you can't feel it. The nerves can do a lot of weird things when it comes to CRPS. Remember, our it's a problem with how the brain is processing the sensations coming from the leg or coming from the hand. So for him in particular, instead of having a problem in processing where the brain is sending out pain signals to his leg or to his knee or his foot, but there is a situation where the brain is not sending signals down there, meaning that the or sensory signals, and so he's not picking up on the touching that's going on down there. The only way that we correct this is by moving or touching the foot and giving the brain information. This was covered in my desensitization video, why we need to give the brain information. Whether it's pain or numbness, the process is still the same. We need to give feedback to the nerves in the leg to help the brain understand what is happening there down there. And ideally, we give feedback to both the right leg and the left leg at the same time so that we can utilize the brain's mirroring effect in the somatosensory cortex, which I'll put here, to help improve his function. And, your son works with me, so we're working on that. But this is a great question. Yes, it's normal. Some people have numbness, some people have extreme pain, some people have both depending on the day. That's just kind of how it works. It's annoying, but the process is still the same either way. Give the brain information, continue to try to function when you can, and move forward. Sarah. Hi, Chase. One of the fingers on my left unaffected hand was injured and swelled up in November. The pinky and middle finger have now joined the party. All three are swollen and stiff. With the increased use of this non-dominant hand and a few injuries from bumping into things, I am not sure just how injured they are. That is the unfortunate part of CRPS, not knowing when the hand is re-injured or just stressed. Is there a way of knowing this? When I try to do passive or active bending exercises, it leads to more swelling and burning. Is there a way of knowing whether this coloration and swelling is just part of CRPS, or whether I should be resting it a bit? I use the hand for almost everything, so when I rest, I mean rest from physio. Thanks, Chase. Hey Sarah, did you get this checked out by a doctor to make sure that you don't have anything more significant? And if this is all the way back in November and this hand is still having these problems, then my inclination would be there isn't an injury anymore because that would be, let's see, November, January, February, March. That's almost 3 months. Most injuries will heal, even broken bones, within 4 to 16 weeks. So if there is an injury, it's almost healed. And if there isn't an injury, well, then the process again is still the same. We need to give the hand and the fingers feedback and information as we move it. And if you feel like it is swelling up and leading to more problems, then I would encourage you to just scale back the exercise just a little bit so that it doesn't swell up as much and start there. Start slow, ease up. Remember, we want to poke the bear, not wake it up. So if the amount of exercises you are doing is waking up this swelling, waking up this redness, then I would just scale back a little bit and make it so this swelling or redness only lasts for, less than a day or a few hours, and that'll be your sweet spot to start. So that would be my advice on that. Okay, this one I saved for myself. This is from Amanda Marie. Um, let's see what she says. Hello, I have CRPS in my hand. My symptoms are fairly mild now. I have surgery scheduled for a resection of a small part of my intestines coming up. I've read about the surgery protocol to decrease the chance of CRPS spreading from surgery, but it relates to surgery on different parts of your limbs. Is there a protocol for internal surgery? So sometimes people will, have ketamine involved with the sedation for surgery, but I wouldn't say that there's a specific protocol outside of that. I wouldn't worry too much about surgical procedures and spreading. And the reason I say that is because it's something I've covered quite often called the nocebo effect. And this feeling of worry, this feeling of fear about spreading is often the exact thing that leads to quote unquote spreading from a surgical procedure. So if you are feeling very fearful about this happening because of things you've read on the internet, then the likelihood of that happening is increased to be higher. And that's not because CRPS is a poison or a toxin that's in your body that's spreading over to your intestines because you had a surgery. That's not it at all. What is happening is you're so worried that it's ramping up your nervous system. And then when your nerves are affected by something, like a surgical procedure, you might notice those nerves become extra sensitive post-procedure. And then you classify it as spread. Once you overcome the fear or worry of this happening by learning good and new information, by watching my Q&As, the likelihood of it spreading is vastly reduced. And as an example of that, I have had procedures done since CRPS, and by that I mean, colonoscopies. I've tattooed both my arms and my chest. I've lasered all the tattoos back off of my chest. I've broken my collarbone. I've sprained my ankles, and I don't have any pain in any of these areas, even though I was diagnosed with CRPS 10 years ago. I have no fear of spreading or fear of CRPS coming back, so the nocebo effect does not apply to me. And I believe that's possible for you too. We just need to help calm the worry about this. But as far as a surgical protocol goes, sometimes ketamine is helpful being in the mix. And the reason for that is because ketamine makes you calm, reduces your worry. Ketamine, remember, is a tranquilizer. It makes you tranquil, makes you relaxed. And so that's why it might be helpful when you're having some sort of procedure done. Not because it's controlling the CRPS, but because it's calming you down. Okay. Cecile, my therapist and doctors advice, sorry, is to touch the affected limb as little as possible, not wear socks. I have CRPS in my left ankle and foot. Not wear long pants overall move the ankle as little as possible. So no gym, walking, etc. The goal is to calm down the nerves as much as possible and not trigger them. I can only do desensitization far away from the ankle. In your course, I find that you advise exactly the opposite. If touching, even if uncomfortable, progressively wearing shoes, tape, socks, etc. I'm a bit puzzled on by the complete opposite between your advice and my therapist's advice. Do you have any insight? So yeah, I answered this here and I shared my video on to why, but I wanted to answer it in the Q&A as well. With all due respect to your therapist and doctors, they are wrong in their approach. They are straight up just wrong. We used to think with back pain that bed rest was the best thing to do, but we found out later that that actually made things worse because the body didn't get used to being exposed to movement again. And so now we advise the opposite. We advise moving around. And so CRPS should be taken the same way. We are having pain signals from our body. And the only way that our body is going to learn that it's safe is if we move around, touch it, and do things. I described that again in my desensitization video right here. But we need to move around. We need to expose the brain and the limb and the body to movement so that we can get used to it again. Think of it the same way when you sprain an ankle. If you sprain your ankle and then never walk on your ankle again, it's going to be very hard to get back to the things you want to do. So we need to calm down the nerves by showing the brain that the limb is safe. Not moving teaches the brain that the limb is unsafe. Moving teaches the brain that the limb is okay. Okay, so that's my take on it. I think we've spoken now, and you said that you've been doing my approach and it's been helping. So case in point there, that improving your pain comes from moving and doing the things that are opposite to what your therapist and doctors unfortunately advised you, and hopefully that can change someday as better information get out and hopefully reach them over in I think you're in Switzerland. So yeah. Um, yeah, that's my take there. Karen, supplements recommended to help with CRPS. I remember seeing a list of the other groups and went to search and immediately got hit with doom and gloom of those groups. So I thought I would ask here instead. Yeah, Karen, so doom and gloom is not something that we have in the window pane. The window pane is a place of hope and improvement and progress. And so if you're watching this and you're not in my Facebook group yet, please do come and join the window pane on Facebook, and you will see every week people having fun, having improvements and moving forward, just like these people here. Okay. So to answer Karen's question, supplements recommended for CRPS. I did mention some things when it came to CRPS that I personally think are helpful. But otherwise, I don't have, and that was in a previous Q&A. I don't have specific supplements that I say, research says that these are the best ones or anything like that. I feel like a generalized healthy diet is the best thing that you can go with, whatever that may be to you and your different circumstance. But if you want supplements to help with things like hydration, I like electrolyte mixes like this one here. Just a brand that I like. You can get any brand that you want. But Ultima is one that I like. I also like supplements that can help with sleep, maybe melatonin, L-theanine, magnesium, those might be fine. B vitamins are generally okay, or just a general multivitamin. And then maybe, like some tea that you have during the day to help relax you. I don't care if it's tea or hot chocolate, whatever helps you relax. Remember, this is a situation of an overactive alarm system, an overactive nervous system, and we need to calm that nervous system down, move from the sympathetic fight or flight mode to the parasympathetic rest and digest mode, and bring our nerves down so that that pain can relax and our body can start to function properly again. So those would be my recommendations for just some general things. It's no magic. You don't need to buy those things. But if you feel like you want to add something, then those would be the things I would recommend. Rachel, when is too much too much? When I can't walk anymore, or maybe I need to rest and recover between days? Yeah, Rachel, this is a really common question. A lot of people ask, where is the line? Where do I stop pushing? And this is what I'm going to say. Recovery is a variable thing. Here's a graph I often reference about recovery. And if you look on that graph, the way we expect recovery to go is like a linear straight line, no bumps or ups and downs. But the reality is the way it actually goes is that other graph there where it's kind of like a roller coaster, right? There will be ups and downs on your road to recovery, to remission. On those ups and downs, you need to adjust how much you're training or how much you're moving or how much you're doing things based on where you're at on that road to recovery. So on a day that you're having a hard day, it's okay to scale back and not do a bunch of stuff. And then on a day when you're feeling better, I would go for a little bit more. But again, we're pushing into discomfort. We're not forcing ourselves into pain. And so you do what is tolerable for you and be kind to yourself. Okay, you don't need to impress anyone. You're already impressing me by doing what you're doing on that day. So you don't need to push yourself to the breaking point. In fact, that wouldn't necessarily be the proper route to take at all. The reason I say that is because let's consider that your limb or your body or whatever is affected is a stray cat or a stray dog. And if you've ever seen videos of stray cats or stray dogs, you'll know that those videos start out with the cat being very agitated, very scared, maybe in the corner over there. And if I went up to that cat and I tried to grab it by the neck, it's going to bite and scratch the bejesus out of me. Okay. That is not the way to approach your limb or a CRPS affected body. You do not go up and just grab it. You do not go and just like try to run a marathon, right? You need to slowly approach the limb, slowly approach the body, slowly approach the cat in the corner. Maybe sit down next to it, maybe allow it to smell your hand, maybe give it some food, a treat, and then, you can start to pet it and bring it home and make it feel safe. So the objective is not to destroy yourself. The objective is to each day try to improve just slightly. And then on the days that you need to rest, let yourself rest. Remember, even the top athletes in the world have to rest. If they don't rest, they will lose their competition. Okay, so consider the long game here. Rest when you need to. The road to recovery is going to be up and down. Ride out the downs, enjoy the ups, and continue forward. Okay. Renee, how do we get our brains to let go of the fear of pain? I took a bad fall on Thanksgiving and endured the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. I'm like, I'm so close to being able to walk again, but my fear keeps me from putting all of my weight on my right foot. I'm so close, and I don't want the fear of re-injuring my foot to hold me back. I guess I should add that my original injury that caused CRPS was last July. The fall on Thanksgiving hurt way worse than breaking my ankle. Yeah, Renee, sometimes, the experiences that we've had in the past really shape our future experiences, and fear is a big part of that. Fear can be the biggest thing that can influence our pain in certain ways, fear and anxiety. And that is because fear and anxiety are processed in kind of the same areas of the brain that pain is processed. One of the main ones being the amygdala. Okay. The only way that we let go of fear is by leaning into the fear. You might not like that answer, but that's the case. So, for example, I once interacted with an individual who had a fear of balloons. The only way that that person could possibly overcome that fear of balloons would be to slowly approach being next to or close to balloons. So the way that I would start with helping a person like that is I would show them maybe a picture of a balloon, and then I would have them look at a balloon from the outside of a facility that had balloons inside. And then maybe I would have them stand in the same facility that the balloons are in. Then I'd have them slowly approach the balloon, then maybe touch the balloon, and then maybe eventually to fully overcome the fear, try to do balloon animals. Okay. We cannot reduce the fear by avoiding the thing that is scary. We have to do the thing that is scary to not be fearful. Okay. We'll never be not afraid of heights unless we expose ourselves to heights. We'll never be unafraid of skydiving unless we skydive. Okay. So, what I would do is I would encourage you to find ways to slowly lean into putting your weight on your right foot. That might be using a walker to balance yourself and then try to put a little bit of weight on the foot. It might be standing in the kitchen and having your arms on the sides of the counter and just rocking with your feet, using your arms as like a leverage point to stop you from putting all the weight on the foot. Slowly proving to yourself, to your foot, to your mind, to your body that walking is safe is the only way to go. And to be honest, if you avoid walking, the chances of you re-injuring your foot go up higher because the muscles around your foot are going to be getting weaker. We need to strengthen the muscles and bones, and the only way to do that is to put weight through the foot. Okay. So I would lean into, let it pun intended, trying to walk again. And if you're not working with a physical therapist or somebody that knows a good approach to doing that, you can reach out to me, or I would reach out to, a local physical therapist to help you get back to weight bearing, if you're not already. Great question, Renee. Donna, hi Chase. I have a question that I hope you may have guidance, positive insight for warriors. Many of us, including myself, as you know, have spouses and significant others, loved ones, etc., who are caretakers, most especially when we have pain spikes. Are there any audiobooks or videos for those who are constantly putting us first before themselves to give them hope and peace? I'm sure it's very difficult to take care of someone you love when the pain spikes, and we are not ourselves. Thank you so much. Yeah, Donna, thank you for the question here. I am planning to make, a few videos for that can be shown to spouses or so spouses can understand CRPS. But if you want something now, if you want something quicker, I would encourage you to have Thomas, your husband, go through the program, the online program, my course as well. That course is eventually going to be there for providers to take, other doctors of physical therapy or pain management doctors, etc. So, you're already signed up for the course, I believe. So just have Thomas go through the course as well, and he'll learn a lot about CRPS and probably learn ways to understand you more through some of the videos in that course, especially the videos where I'm working with other clients, which I believe there's about 35 of those videos in the course now. So, yeah, that would be my suggestion for now. Have him take the course with you, and then I'll work on some videos to help give them some hope. But that course brings a lot of hope, so I would check that out. Okay, Holly, when the burn starts, am I doing more harm by not just resting and walking? Wait. Oh, am I doing more harm by walking it out? I generally understand do what feels best, but I don't want to wake a beast. So, Holly, it's going to be different for each person. Remember that analogy I used about the stray cat before? If you need to rest, then that's great. If you find that when you walk it out, it goes away, then that's great too. Okay, so if walking it out is helpful, then walk it out. If walking it out makes it worse, then don't walk so much or don't do that. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. It's the KISS method. Keep it simple, silly, is what I say. So, if you find that walking it out is helping reduce the burn, then totally cool. If there's a day where you feel like walking it out is making it worse, then I think rest is appropriate at that time. Remember, when the burn starts, I'd also like you to try to think about what might be leading to this burning. What's going on emotionally? Are you feeling more stressed at home? Did you just have an argument with a loved one or a spouse or a child, one of your children? Ask yourself these questions, and sometimes it has nothing to do with the physical and everything to do with the stress that you're feeling in life, stress, anger, frustration, etc. So I would ask yourself that question also to delve into the emotions a little bit. All right, Jessica, 2 months before my pain started, I decided to confront my unresolved traumas full force. Therapy twice a week, EMDR twice a week, psychiatrist was on board, and I was ready to put in the work. The mind body prescription suggests that CRPS is a defense mechanism created by the brain to avoid confrontation of repressed emotions by shifting your attention to a physical problem. Could my willingness to release repressed memories and emotions have caused the onset of my CRPS? I know that storing trauma is unhealthy. I now also, I think, know that releasing stored trauma is unbelievably debilitating. Which is the greater evil? How do you safely purge yourself of the negative without provoking pain? Forgive me if the answer is in the book I referenced. I have not yet finished it. Um, yeah, Jessica, the answer is in the book. Not all the way, but there's at least some guidance. Okay, so in that book, The Mind Body Prescription, Sarno describes kind of how you untie the connection of the pain and the emotion. So he suggests that pain is a defense mechanism for repressed anger that you may have had due to these traumas. Okay, anger is the emotion that he characterizes as the reason for complex regional pain syndrome and many other chronic pain conditions. And I actually find this quite amusing in certain ways when it comes to CRPS because I kind of agree in certain ways, and here's why. What is the main color that represents CRPS? Orange, okay? Orangish red, but orange for the main part. And what is the main element that you see when it comes to CRPS? Fire, okay? We see fire. And what color does your face turn when you are angry? Red. And what color does your limb turn when you're dealing with CRPS? Also red. And if you've seen Inside Out, the Inside Out movies, there is a character in there that is represented by fire, by the colors orange and red. And that character represents the emotion anger. And so it's kind of right in front of us that a lot of the tragedies in our lives and the way we live our life as individuals who are dealing with CRPS, both before and during our CRPS, has led to a repression of a lot of complex emotions. And so that is why I developed CRPS after some very traumatic events in my life. And I think that is also why people develop CRPS as a whole. I don't necessarily think that your pain was caused by confronting these emotions. I think it's just a defense mechanism the body employed to try to protect you from these emotions. We need to show your body and your brain that you do not need defense from these emotions. We have to confront these emotions. So, if you want to safely purge yourself from this, I think the mind body prescription describes basically identifying the emotions that are underlying and telling yourself like this pain is not real. I am not feeling this. I don't need the protection. But I would take it a step further. In my online program, in Module 7, I talk about trauma and emotions. So if you're not yet signed up for that, I would highly advise it because I go into much more depth. But some of the things I suggest is writing letters to the people in your life that have let you down or that you feel you might be angry at, not to give to them, but just letters to let the emotion out yourself, and then you can burn the letter or throw it away, whatever you need to do. I would write the letter and then I would read the letter out loud to an empty chair, to yourself in the mirror, to really let out that emotion that you've pressed down and repressed, that healthy anger that you never let out because you weren't in a safe environment to do so, etc. Additionally, another activity I have clients do is I have them find a picture of themselves, for example, at 3 years old, where they had a traumatic experience. And with that traumatic experience, they feel like they're trapped in that memory. I have them find a picture at that age, put it on their mirror, and every morning you go and you talk to that 3-year-old. For example, my 3-year-old self, I was hospitalized for, 8 months, having some problems with my kidneys. And I would go in the bathroom and I would look at my 3-year-old self and I would say, it's okay. I'm here to help, or I'm here to save you now. Come with me. Um, I will protect you. These phrases will come to your mind to calm the childhood version of yourself. I know it sounds strange, maybe for some people this sounds a bit like woo woo, but I promise you, you will have a welling up of emotion. And that emotion that you've pushed down for so long into your body, which is now manifesting as pain, will be able to come out. And what usually happens is the pain at the same time comes down. Okay. So those are a few ideas of ways to purge yourself of this stored trauma and remind yourself if you do provoke pain, it is because pain is acting as a bodyguard from these emotions. So we need to tell our bodyguard, we need to tell our big brother, hey, it's okay, step aside. I can face these emotions. I don't need your protection from this emotional pain in the form of physical pain. Emotions are always manifesting in the mind and body at the same time. This is evident when we get angry and our face turns red, or our shoulders tense up, or we clench our jaw. This is also evident when we feel depressed and we sit forward like this, or when we're sad or defeated. It's also evident when we feel embarrassed or nervous and we get butterflies in our stomach. This reality of emotion manifesting in the body is so true that it's built into our language. Heartbreak, gut feeling, backstab, you get on my nerves, you're on my last nerve, you're a pain in my. This is so evident that it's built into our very language, it's built into our religions, it's built into all of history. And this idea of emotions showing up in the body as pain has been prevalent in medicine for almost 100 years now, starting back in even the early 1900s and probably before. But yeah, exploring that, I don't think there's a greater evil. I think that the route is letting go is the answer. Otherwise, the pain will probably stay around, okay? Because it's serving a purpose. So facing these emotions is the way out of pain, and that's something I teach both in pain coaching and in my online program. So if you need more guidance on that, I would reach out or sign up for one of those, okay? I'm happy to help. Rachel, let's see. Itchiness, okay. Um, sorry. I know it's a good sign that nerves are working a bit and maybe regenerating, but does anything help with the itching? I'm maxed out on oral antihistamines. I don't want to restart uh, dexamethasone. I want brain focused if possible, but I haven't found much after doing a deep dig on the internet. I have tried other things with no resolution. Thank you in advance. Rachel, to be honest, the itching isn't a symptom I see like that much. I wouldn't say it's a very common symptom that I am seeing. Yes, I do think it is the nerves working and starting to regenerate in certain ways if you're doing more activity. The only thing I can really suggest that that comes to mind is like cold or frozen vegetables being put on the itchy area. Sometimes that helps to reduce the inflammation in that area and calm down things. And if you're listening to this and you're saying, no, 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 don't put ice on it, I would go back to my Q&A number 5 and watch the part I have on there about ice. Ice is okay as long as it's in moderation. So yeah, that's really the only thing I can recommend. I'm sorry, I don't have other recommendations. You're already kind of doing the antihistamines and things like that. So I would say something that can cool the area down to help reduce the itching would be the avenue I would go to. All right, Pat, we covered this in my personal coaching, but wondered if it would benefit to others. My question is, I see a lot of clients having breakthroughs in week 3, but how can I stop obsessing over it when I have a breakthrough? Okay. So I totally understand this, Pat, and yeah, we did talk about this in coaching, and the answer I gave you was comparison is the thief of joy. Okay, there's someone I really respect, and he has some rules that he lays out for life. And one of his rules is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today. And I think that is such a great rule to follow because you do not know how uh, someone else's life is going from a snippet of their successes. You also don't know and have not lived the life of someone, their ups and downs, their injuries, their medical history, their personal history, their emotional history. You can't possibly know if they started out in the same spot as you, if they started off much more well off than you. Some people that I work with start off bedbound and in a wheelchair. Some people that I work with start off already walking around. So looking to someone else as a comparison and looking at their progress as a comparison will do nothing for you except make you sad. Okay, so what I would encourage you to do instead is look at how far you've come. You have gone from being someone when we were first working together that was afraid to go back to the pool at all to someone who is exercising in the pool regularly during the week. So you're making tremendous progress and having your own breakthroughs. And I think you should follow the rule of compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today. So great question, Pat. I know others have that feeling, but remember, comparison is doing nothing for you. You need to look at your own journey, your own progress, and leave it at that. Okay, easier said than done, I know, but that's how it needs to be. Okay, so Tammy, she said, does age have an effect on how we progress? Do older people take longer to reduce symptoms? And does the amount of time, years you've had CRPS play a part? I.e., the longer you've had it, the longer it takes to progress. So, Tammy, this is a common question and a common fear or worry that people have. My take on the situation is the only reason it would take longer for an older person to, or someone who's had CRPS for a long time to progress is because they have been mucked up by false and negative information for longer than someone who was just diagnosed or than a child has. Okay, so for example, when a child comes to me and has been first diagnosed or has been dealing with CRPS for 4 years, the first thing I say to that child and their parents is do not join support groups. Do not Google the condition. Listen to me and you will be fine. And all of the pediatric patients that I worked with CRPS when I was at Texas Children's got better. You can find articles of that online all over the place. Okay. So the reason for that is because the fear was reduced by having a path forward and someone they could trust that they were working with. Someone who is older or someone who has had more time with CRPS will have a harder time with recovery and progressing, not because their body is, not as capable or, the age makes them somehow more resistant. No, it's because someone who is older likely has heard a lot of false or nocebo inducing medical information about CRPS or about their body that is hindering their progress due to their feelings of fear of overcoming this condition. So, it takes a longer time to unravel all of those things as it has as I worked with you. And that is why it takes longer for someone to progress. But if someone, I have another client who was diagnosed with CRPS when she was 12, and she had a pretty rapid change because she very quickly accepted and admitted the emotional and mental aspects that were creating her pain. Whereas others might be more resistant to some of those ideas, and even fight back against them and latch on to the idea of the physical parts of things going on. So in summary, no, I do not think someone who's had it longer is harder to help. No, I do not think age is playing a significant role. I think that it all depends on the person and their willingness to accept, some of the realities and truths about CRPS that I often talk about. Okay, so Sandy said to Pat that she feels the same way about her, other people's progress, feeling like they're not moving forward enough or not having enough success. And I remind Sandy and Pat in this text here, which I'll have on screen, that you need to remember both of you, Pat and Sandy, are unique. You have completely different lives and experiences compared to the others that you're seeing with success on my Facebook group. So comparing yourself to them will not serve you. Instead of comparing yourself to who you are today, or sorry, who others are today, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. That's the key. Comparison will rob you of the joy you both deserve. So, Sandy and Pat, you both have made amazing progress. You're doing way more than you used to. Compare yourself to you in the beginning, not to, Renee or Amy or Denise or Deborah. Compare yourself to older version of Sandy and older version of Pat. You are making progress. So, celebrate your wins, celebrate your weekly achievements, celebrate how far you've come, and everything's going to be just fine. Okay, Anja. Hi, Chase. I have chronic pain in both feet now for 3.5 years. I don't recognize the inflammation and I don't have any pain in my skin. My pain started in the joint ball cushion on my foot, and after a Morton's neuroma observation, the pain was still there and started spreading with other kinds of pain in the rest of the foot, mainly the bottom of the foot and toes, as if having sticks on my foot sole and toes. The toes feel very stiff and bruised. This is also how my left foot, standing on the feet and walking, is very painful, but I also have pain when not on my feet. Do you recognize this as CRPS? All the doctors I've seen say I don't have all the symptoms, but it is chronic pain, so should be treated as CRPS. Yeah, Anja, so, chronic pain can be treated the same way as, CRPS because it's kind of, again, the same problem. It's not a tissue issue because you already had the tissue, the Morton's neuroma, corrected. And so if the pain is still here, it is a pain problem. It is a problem with how the brain is processing the signal of pain. And remember, pain, by definition of the International Association for the Study of Pain, is defined as both a sensory and emotional experience that is related to or mimics the relationship to potential or perceived tissue damage. So, Pain is both sensory, the things we are feeling, and emotional, the way we process or respond to that feeling. And it could be related to tissue damage or not at all. And so in this case, I would say your doctors are right. It's chronic pain, so it can be treated the same as CRPS. We desensitize, we give the brain information, we reduce our anxiety and fear, and then the pain comes down. And additionally, you don't always have all the symptoms of CRPS. Sometimes you have two, sometimes you have three. It kind of sometimes depends on the day. But yes, either way, the path forward is still the same. We need to retrain the nerves and the brain that the feet are safe. So yeah, that's the process. Great question. Jessica, the first time I had CRPS 10 years ago, every single scan and test was clear until a bone scan ultimately diagnosed me. After telling my more recent team of doctors this, a bone scan was ordered. Yesterday, a bone scan again confirmed CRPS diagnosis. While most of my energy in blood work this time around has been abnormal, none could definitively diagnose CRPS like a bone scan. Are you able to explain this? So, you know, to put it bluntly, a bone scan is not a diagnostic tool for CRPS. The only diagnostic tool for CRPS is the Budapest criteria, and that's going to be, right here on the screen. Some confusion about a bone scan being a diagnostic tool is because people say that one of the things that happens with CRPS is we have bone demineralization, meaning the bones are getting weaker. That is only happening because we are not using the limb because the limb is so painful. If I tape my leg up to my rear end and I walk around hopping on only my left leg for several months, then my right leg, whether I have CRPS or not, will start to have bone demineralization. It'll start to make my bones thinner because I'm not exposing my bones to force. So, if a bone scan shows bone demineralization, it's not because of CRPS and it's not diagnostically confirming anything. What it's doing is it's showing something that is occurring because of disuse. When you start using the limb again, when you start moving around again and exposing the foot and the leg to force or the hand to forces, your bones will remineralize through a concept called Wolff's Law, which I've talked about quite often. And so, a bone scan for that reason cannot be diagnostic of CRPS. When you do a bone scan, it's not like they're seeing, something in your body and it's a CRPS on the scan. That doesn't happen. CRPS is not a poison or a toxin that's in your bones. CRPS is a processing problem of pain or sensation by the brain. Okay, so a bone scan cannot diagnose CRPS. The only thing that can diagnose CRPS is this right here, the Budapest criteria. And you need like two or three out of four of this criteria to be diagnosed with CRPS. CRPS is more of a diagnosis of ruling everything else out first, and then applying the criteria to see if it's accurate. Okay. So yeah, there's confusion around that a lot, and that's unfortunate. But I do have videos coming out, myths about CRPS videos that I'm making now that'll hopefully start to clear that up. Okay, Anna. Chase, my CRPS is in my low back down to my butt, so I can feel the burning sensation when I'm sitting. Of course, it's spread to my legs, but no burning yet. How do I desensitize the burning there? So, Anna, I would first encourage you to drop the yet after the no burning. That thought process about, the burning is coming is probably the very thing that will bring the burning. So as much as you can, I would drop the yet. I would be thankful that, okay, I'm having some pain in my legs, but I'm not having burning. Awesome. Okay, continue forward. If you want to desensitize burning, you would work on exposing the area to heat or to varying temperatures. Okay, so maybe that would involve taking a bath with cold water, with lukewarm water, with warm water, with hot water, just varying that up and giving feedback to the brain, just like we do with other desensitization, feedback to the brain of varying temperatures. You could do this with an ice pack. You could do this with a heating pad. You could do this with a variety of things. But what we're attempting to do to desensitize burning or temperature sensitivity is expose the area to temperature differences. Okay, so keep it simple. Problems with temperature, we approach with temperature. Problems with pressure or touch or putting on a shoe, we approach with pressure or touch or putting on a shoe slowly. Problems with light touch, we approach and improve with light touch. Okay, it's very simple. If the brain is confused about a certain sensation, we need to provide it that sensation in a safe and controlled way. Okay. Jessica, hi Chase, can you talk about the vagus nerve? There seem to be studies suggesting a correlation with the vagus nerve and CRPS. Do you suggest and or practice vagal nerve techniques? So yeah, Jessica, great question. The vagus nerve is often attributed to being like the calming nerve. I'm not the biggest fan of like focusing specifically on a specific nerve because your body is composed of hundreds, if not thousands, of nerves. Okay. But what I do like about vagal nerve things is that they're generally things that promote relaxation. As you know, complex regional pain syndrome is us being stuck in fight or flight mode. And the way that we calm things down is we move into rest and digest mode, okay, the parasympathetic mode. And so the way that you might do that could be through like vagal calming activities. And those are usually things like meditation, vagal nerve stimulation with different like devices and things like that you can find online. But honestly, whatever relaxes you and relaxes your body and works for you is perfectly fine with me. Okay. If doing vagus nerve activities or using some sort of vagal nerve device calms you down, give it a try. If it calms you down, great. If it doesn't, and meditation or, playing with your dogs calms you down, then also great. The objective is to calm the nervous system. It doesn't really matter how we do that. And so, some people have great luck with vagal nerve things. And so if you want to try it, give it a try. I have no problem with that at all. Okay, Carol, advice on getting dental work done without causing spread. So yeah, same advice as I've had for others. Your worry about what is going to occur when it comes to CRPS when you have a procedure done is the very thing that's driving the pain experience following that procedure. So, easier said than done, but the less you can worry about it, the more you can remind yourself that, it's really unlikely to spread to that area. I mean, I've had dental work done multiple times for the last 10 years and I'm doing okay. Okay. So, simply because other people have noticed it happening doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. And even if it did, the process would still be the same. Let's say we got extra sensitive up here in our mouth. We have to retrain the nerves here in the brain to understand that our mouth is safe. Okay. So you have to live your life. And the more you can live your life feeling calm about this idea of spread, the better. And I'm actually going to make a video on that as well. So stay tuned if you need more information there. But remember, the nocebo effect is a very real thing. And if you are curious about this effect and learning more about it, I would read the book, The Expectation Effect. I think I have it. Let me see. Yep, right here. The Expectation Effect by David Robson. He talks about a lot of things that I talk about with my clients and in my program in relationship to the placebo and the nocebo effect and just how powerful they are. So powerful that you could take a medication meant to make you sleep. And if you believe that it's going to keep you awake and give you energy, it might do exactly that. So I would check out this book if you want to learn more about that. But I think you'll be fine. And if you're significantly worried about the dental work, just wait on it a little bit until, you're working with me now as a client. So wait until we calm the pain down a little bit more, and then you can go get the dental work done. Okay, Sandy, I've been taking my time going through the modules in the course and just looked through them last night. I printed off all the attachments and I feel like the emotional journal idea should be in the first modules. Anyone else feel like this? So yeah, Sandy, thank you so much for this feedback on the course. My online course is constantly being improved and updated as I learn more and get more and better techniques. This might be something I consider in the future. For now, I think kind of leading you up to beginning the emotional journal in module 7 is actually the best approach. And there's reasons for that, and those reasons would be more evident if you didn't skip ahead. But since you skipped ahead, I can understand why you might feel that way. When you finish the course, reach back out to me and see if you still feel that way. And if you do, maybe I'll be putting it in an earlier module. We'll see. We've got about 60 people right now going through the course. So as people start to finish it, and I get feedback, which I'm excited to collect, I will make it better and better and better as time goes on. This is a lifelong resource for anyone who signs up and enters the program. And so I'm excited to make it the best thing out there for CRPS and CRPS recovery. Linda, my question is, when I get hot, either while eating or sitting in the evenings, with my dogs, I flare. Also, when I'm falling asleep, my body heats up, I flare. How do I combat these types of flares? Also, sometimes I flare late, way after activity instead of at the time of that activity. Is there a way to figure out my tolerance? So, Linda, I kind of take the same approach here. If you're having problem with temperature, we will expose the body to different temperatures. I'd also encourage you, to kind of think about why these flares might be coming in an unrelated way to, activity we've done. Because it sounds like when you're about to fall asleep, your body heats up, which is really interesting because your body's actually supposed to cool down when you're about to fall asleep. So I would ask yourself, what are you thinking about at night? Or what are you thinking about that might be causing your body to heat up? Sometimes at night, that's the time when our thoughts are really racing, when we're ruminating on the day, on the stressors of our life, on what we have to do tomorrow. And I think maybe that's a good thing to inquire about. Maybe keep a notebook next to your bed, and right before you go to bed, just dump out all your thoughts and see if that makes a difference to the way your body feels as you fall asleep. And maybe that'll take away some of the worries that you're having. So yeah, I would consider that. But when it comes to these types of flares, I would really inquire emotionally. And then if you need to, I would do things like keep the temperature in the house a little bit cooler, use a cold pack or a cold rag on your forehead if you need to. Anything like that, I think would be helpful. All right. I guess that's actually the last one. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to Q&A number 6. I am loving these Q&As and I'm going to continue to do them. In fact, the next one, Q&A number 7, is going to be live on Saturday, April 12th at 2 p.m. U.S. Central Time. So tune in for that. Saturday, April 12th, 2 p.m. U.S. Central Time. I will have a live Q&A. The only way that you're going to be able to attend is if you're in my Facebook group, The Window Pane. So go ahead and get into that group and we will get you set up to be at that Q&A with us. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Many more of these to come. I'm loving every minute of it. So ask me as many questions as you can down in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.